Hello everyone, the Instant Camera Guy here. I wanted to do a video today on how to troubleshoot your SX-70 Sonar's autofocus assembly. What I wanted to do is show you guys how it's supposed to work, how it's supposed to function, and then I'll show you what can go wrong. Basically, the way that it is supposed to function is when you half press the shutter button, the sonar sends out a signal, figures out how far away your subject is, and then it spins the lens the appropriate distance. So if something is far away, it's going to move the lens just a little bit. If something is closer, it's going to move the lens a lot further. It's going to focus closer, basically. So the lens comes further out of the camera. So it can either move a little bit or a heck of a lot, just depending on your subject distance. And that is how it is supposed to work. Above the focusing wheel is a little switch, and this is the manual focus switch. So when you press that switch, two things happen inside the housing. The first thing is the little plastic switch pushes on a metallic terminal, which cuts power to the autofocus motor. The second thing that happens is a clutch engages, which basically disengages the motor from the gears, and that helps you spin the lens freely. Now, what can happen is there's a little infrared LED and receiver that basically count little slots on a gear inside here as it spins. And basically, that's how the camera knows what to focus on. If that LED light burns out, and I've talked about this in my video where I repair a Polaroid SX-70 Sonar's Optosensor, if that happens, the lens is always going to focus to around 4.5 feet every single time. It doesn't matter how close or how far away your subject is, it's only ever going to focus to 4.5 feet. So that's one of the ways that you'll know that your assembly is broken. One way that you can check to see if your automatic focus works without any other tools is to do the following. I like to open the film door, engage manual focus mode, and manually focus the camera as close as possible. You want to make sure that you've got a pack of film in for this, just to give the camera power. This particular SX-70 has been modified with my Bluetooth control PCB that I offer for clients with all the manual focus modes. So there is no dark slide eject if you guys are wondering why that's the case. But basically, when we close that door and then engage autofocus again, the lens should go all the way back home. And it does. Now, if that happens, that means the Optosensor assembly is working totally fine. If it doesn't happen, it means your Optosensor is busted. Now, another thing that can happen with your autofocus is if you accidentally, especially with the door open, if you accidentally move that manual focus without engaging the switch, like so, it'll lock up. So right now the autofocus switch is still engaged, but I've accidentally manually focused the lens to just beyond infinity, and it's going to lock up. If you want to reset that, you've got two ways that you can do it. You can either do the technique that I just showed you and send it all the way home, or you can, let's get it to lock first. There we go. Or what you can do is just manually focus it back to infinity and it should work again. So that's going to work assuming your Optosensor hasn't failed. That's how you reset a Sonar autofocus. So I'll just show you guys once more. Manual focus mode, as close as the lens will get, and basically hit the switch. So close the door, hit the switch. The reason that the lens jams, as I just showed you guys, is because an SX-70's autofocus system, you might notice, if you ever look closely at the numbers around an SX-70 Sonar lens, the lens doesn't actually sit at the infinity position. It sits back focused behind infinity. The reason being, when you take a photo of the horizon, the autofocus moves the lens a single cog until it is at infinity. And there's basically a little switch because this is a see-through housing, you guys might be able to see where that little switch is. There's a little switch right here at the very top of the autofocus unit, at the top of the cogs here. And that little switch, when it's engaged, basically tells the camera it's time, you know, we are ready to take a photo. We're sitting at the park position, because that's what that little position is called. That position behind infinity is called park, and that switch is called the park switch. So when that switch is engaged, it tells the camera, we are in the parked position, we are ready to use the autofocus. But when I manually move the lens without engaging manual focus mode by accident, and it's hard to do, but never underestimate the client's ability to stuff something up. The park switch is not engaged right now, and so the camera doesn't think it's time to autofocus. So that's what's going on there. So again, to reset it, I like to just put the lens all the way forwards, and you can either, it doesn't matter what order you do the door or the autofocus switch, what should happen is the lens should go all the way back home. Hopefully that sorts out your issues. As I said, if the camera doesn't behave like that, then odds are overwhelmingly positive that your Optosensor needs fixing. If that's the case and you'd like your camera repaired, please feel free to get in touch with me below. Or if you really feel like doing it DIY, watch my video on the subject. But I warn you, Optosensor repair is very difficult. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. I hope you all have a wonderful day. I hope this video helps someone out there, and I will see you guys in the next one.